She Who Roared for Mercy. The Rewritten Series Foundation. Introduction. Chicago, Illinois had seen strange things before. But nothing had prepared the city for her. She was enormous. She was unlike anything Chicago had ever encountered. She was not Godzilla. She was not a creature seeking to conquer humanity. She was not an enormous beast that had awakened simply to destroy everything in her path. She was something different. She was a monster of peace. And yet, because of what she looked like, because of the enormous sound of her voice, and because of the destruction that sometimes surrounded her presence, Chicago did not understand her. They heard her roar. They saw buildings shake. They saw other enormous creatures approaching. They saw fear spreading through the streets. And they assumed they understood what was happening. They did not. Because nobody in Chicago could understand what she was actually saying. Nobody except B.J. Mayfield. She Who Roared for Mercy had been searching. Not for a kingdom. Not for territory. Not for humanity's destruction. She was searching for someone. Someone who could hear her. Someone who could understand the complete words hidden within her enormous roars. Someone who would not immediately assume that because she was enormous, she must be evil. Someone who would listen before deciding. Yes, she had enemies. They were enormous creatures too. They were different species, different from her and different from one another. Some were aggressive. Some were territorial. Some were destructive. Some believed that humanity should fear them. Some wanted to drive her away. And some wanted to destroy her simply because they could not understand her either. But She Who Roared for Mercy did not necessarily want those creatures destroyed. She wanted the conflict to end. She wanted peace. She wanted someone to understand what she was trying to communicate. And eventually, she found the one person who could hear her. B.J. Mayfield. The man who could hear the roar. Nobody understood why B.J. could hear what everyone else could not. The scientists could record her roars. The military could analyze the frequencies. The news could broadcast them. Crowds could hear them. But B.J. could hear something different. He heard words. Not merely sounds. Not merely vibrations. Words. Complete words. Meaning. Emotion. Warnings. Questions. Pain. And mercy. For the first time, B.J. realized that the enormous creature standing before Chicago was not simply roaring at humanity. She was trying to communicate with humanity. And she had been trying for a long time. B.J. also realized something else. She was afraid. Not necessarily afraid of humanity. She was afraid that humanity would never understand her. That frightened him more than her size. A different kind of mission. Chicago expected B.J. to tell them how to destroy her. Instead, B.J. told them something they did not expect. We may need to stop asking how to destroy her, and start asking why she is here. That changed everything. Because the problem was not simply She Who Roared for Mercy. There were other enormous creatures coming. Enemies. Creatures that could cause unimaginable destruction if nobody intervened. But B.J. did not believe the answer was automatically destruction. If there was a way to stop the conflict without destroying the creatures, he wanted to find it. If there was a way to communicate with them, he wanted to try. If there was a way to protect Chicago while also protecting innocent life, he wanted to find it. And if She Who Roared for Mercy was truly seeking peace, B.J. intended to help her achieve it. Why B.J.? B.J. did not consider himself a superhero. He did not possess supernatural strength. He did not have futuristic weapons. He could not physically overpower creatures thousands of times larger than himself. His ability was different. He could listen. He could discern. He could remain calm when everyone else was afraid. And somehow, when she who roared for mercy became overwhelmed by anger, fear, confusion, or desperation, BJ could speak to her in a way that reached her. He could calm her. Not because he controlled her. Not because he owned her. Not because he was greater than her. But because she trusted him. And BJ understood that trust came with responsibility. He could not simply tell her what she wanted to hear. He had to help her see what was best for everyone, including herself. That meant sometimes telling her something she did not want to hear. That meant reminding her that peace could not always be achieved through force. That meant helping her distinguish between protecting herself and seeking revenge. That meant helping her understand that mercy does not mean allowing evil to continue unchecked. And that was where the fictional story would begin intersecting with scripturally accurate principles. The truth behind the fiction. The Bible teaches that a soft answer can turn away wrath. Proverbs chapter 15 verse 1 says, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." BJ would discover that this principle was not merely something to quote. It was something he would have to live. He would have to speak calmly while Chicago was terrified. He would have to speak truthfully while people demanded immediate action. He would have to resist the temptation to respond to violence with hatred. He would have to remember that vengeance belongs to God. Romans chapter 12 verse 19 teaches, "Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath." That did not mean BJ would stand by and allow innocent people to be harmed. It meant he had to understand the difference between protection and vengeance. Between justice and hatred. Between stopping destruction and destroying something simply because it frightened him. The first understanding. When BJ finally stood before her, Chicago waited for the inevitable. They expected another roar. They expected destruction. Instead, she lowered her enormous head. BJ looked up. For several moments, neither of them moved. Then she roared. The sound traveled through Chicago. Windows trembled. People covered their ears. Emergency sirens sounded throughout the city. But BJ did not run. He listened, calmly. And for the first time, he heard the complete words. "I am not here to destroy you." BJ looked toward the people watching from a distance. Then he looked back at her. "I believe you." She roared again. "I need you to hear me." BJ answered, "I am listening." Another roar. This time, there was something different in it. Not anger. Not aggression. Relief. Because after all this time, someone finally understood. The beginning of the journey. That was the moment Chicago's understanding of she who roared for mercy began to change. Yes, she was still enormous. Yes, she was still dangerous if provoked. Yes, she still had enemies. Yes, she could still cause destruction simply because of her size. And yes, Chicago still had every reason to be cautious. But now, there was something Chicago had never had before. A translator. A mediator. A person who could hear what nobody else could hear. BJ Mayfield. And BJ was about to discover that hearing her was only the beginning. Because she who roared for mercy was not merely searching for someone who could understand her. She was searching for someone who could help her understand herself. And somewhere beyond the Chicago skyline, her enemies were coming. The question was no longer, how do we destroy the monsters? The question had become, how do we find a way for everyone to live? And B.J. Mayfield was going to have to find the answer. Not with weapons. Not with hatred. Not with revenge. But with truth, wisdom, courage, mercy, discernment, and peace. The roar had finally been heard. Now, Chicago had to listen.